What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Lock and Cash podcast. It's Monday, January 5th in the year 2026, and the NFL regular season is now in the rearview mirror. I am actually, so I know some people are like bittersweet. So I'm so excited to be done with the season because I was having an amazing season up until like 2 to 3 weeks ago, where I've just struggled the last 3 weeks to end the season down the stretch. I was up a bunch of units, gave a bunch of them back. So now I'm like, all right, you know what? Let's just get this out of the way, get these teams that are eliminated out of here, the meaningless games, and let's focus on playoff games that actually matter so we can finish off the season very strong and lock in another winning NFL season. If you've been, by the way, I've been doing this podcast now since week one, since last year. If you've been watching, if you were a week one NFL podcast watcher this year, let me know down in the comments. I want to hear from you. And if not, make sure you subscribe because I'll probably have a second episode later this week. I'll usually on Friday, and I will also have a college episode to talk about the semifinals games, which we have one pick on released right now. I did send out 3 wildcard picks this morning. So for those of you that watch that might be interested in a playoff pass, there's one link down below in the description with like a discount attached to it. So check that out if you want. But 3 wildcard picks released. I will talk about every game in this video. We'll go through sides totals, my leans, situational spots. I'll give you some trends at the end too, which I did a bunch of digging and found a lot of wildcard trends that could be beneficial for you to know. Obviously, it will be a little bit of a shorter episode, but I think we have some excellent matchups. So some of these games I will have stronger opinions on than others, but I think we have some great games to get us started in the playoffs. So let's talk first about your 2 Saturday games. Starting us off, we're going to go in rotation order. First game of wildcard weekend in the NFL. You got the Rams at Carolina taking on the Panthers. And this is probably your least, I don't want to say interesting, but your most lopsided game with a team that's Carolina that's 8-9, can kind of backdoors their way into the playoffs with a Falcons win on Sunday that got them in. I think this would have been a little more interesting with Tampa, but nonetheless, and I know a lot of you are going to say, well, the Panthers did beat the Rams this season. We'll get to that. Yes, they did beat the Rams this season. LA minus 10.5 right now on the road with a total of 46.5. The first time these teams played, this was the spread. It was 10.5 on the road. And I remember texting a buddy at that time who I text, we share info back and forth and text all season long. And I remember that week we were talking, we were like, man, 10.5 seems high. And we both had it lined around like 8 or 7-ish, right? Like I've got this game lined at 7.5, for what that's worth. And we're like, man, 10.5 is just so high. And then the Panthers ended up winning the game. Now, for them to win that game, a lot had to go their way. They had a pick 6. I believe they had a fumble that was returned for a touchdown. I got to go back and check. So basically it was like turnovers, blown coverages by the Rams. They had a deep touchdown pass on a 4th down, like 4th down conversions, fumble luck, turnover luck. A lot of things had to happen. The one thing I will say is though, the Panthers, right? All 8 of their wins this season have come as underdogs. And a lot of them have come at home. They've been a really feisty dog at home. Do I think 10.5 is too many points? Yes. Am I running to take the Panthers? No. Because I think with the Rams coming in now, hyper-focused, knowing what needs to be done, knowing that they lost here before, I don't know. I just numbers-wise, 10.5 is high, but I think this could be a bloodbath. I'm not running to jump in front of what I think is the clear best team in the NFL coming into these playoffs. I mean, nothing that happened in the last few weeks, Rams losing to the Seahawks or whatever, none of that has changed in my mind the fact that this is the best. They're the most complete best team in the NFL. So do I want to run to jump in front of the one team that I think is obviously head and shoulders above everyone else? I definitely don't want to do that. So small lean to the Panthers, 10.5. I think the Rams are an excellent parlay piece or 10-point teaser piece. If you want to try to play a 10-point teaser, a popular one that a lot of people I'm sure will play is like Rams down to a pick, Jags up to 11.5, and then maybe, I don't know, another one of the dogs up to 13.5 or something like that, or the Packers or Bears, whoever's the dog, tease them up. Totally makes sense. I could totally get that. But to me, Rams money line as a part, I've talked about the strategy before where when you find a week in the NFL where you have a huge favorite that you think still has a huge edge, like 10, 11, 12-point favorite that you think is maybe even still like you just think they're going to win. You can use that to try to offset some juice on your other bets. So even if you just take like another ATS bet, let's say you were taking the Patriots minus 3.5, and you throw in Rams money line just to get the juice down on the minus 3 on the minus 110. I don't think that I can see no world in which the Rams lose this game. I got to be honest. I mean, I know that somebody can clip this if they lose and make me look like an idiot. I just don't see any way they lose this game, especially considering the fact that they lost to this team. They came here and lost to this team this season. No way it happens again. No shot. And in the way that it happened too, they didn't get outplayed or anything like that. I just think there's no, and the Rams are one of the best road favorites in the NFL. I think they have the best record as road chalk, 10-3 against the spread, I believe it is, or 10-2 against the spread for McVay last couple of years as road favorites. So listen, man, small lean to the Panthers if we're just talking numbers, but if we're talking matchups and situational, I think the Rams are going to win, and I think it's going to be pretty easy. The one thing that would keep me off, though, obviously it's 10 in the hook. It's lined, in a tricky way, but also the back door could be open if you're up 17 late. If you're up 14 late with a minute. I mean, we saw this on Sunday with the Saints and Falcons, right? That game was effectively over, and the Saints got a backdoor cover. So you just got to be careful with these when the team is driving. Same thing with the Packers-Vikings game on Sunday. With these big inflated spreads, you just got to be a little careful with that. But I think if you're looking for a parlay, your first look should be Rams money line. First, you can even do first half money line to get the juice down a little bit. I really don't think they're losing this game. The night game on Saturday is Green Bay at Chicago. This is going to be a great game. This is the third time this season the Packers and the Bears are facing off. And this is kind of dinking back and forth. So you can find some books where Green Bay's -1 and -1.5, and you can find some books where Chicago's -1 or -1.5. My line, Chicago -1. That's my line. 46.5, ticking down now, though, is your total. I strongly lean under in this game, both first half and full game. I think it's worth noting that these teams both kind of start off slow. Chicago, man, have you seen the Bears are like last week yesterday against the Lions? I believe they were scoreless at the half. For the two times these team played, I think the first game was like 14-0 at the half, or 14-3 at the half for the Packers, and the second game was 6-0 at the half. Like, these teams just take a long time to get going. So I like under first half and full game. Obviously, the full game you risk overtime, but I think this game trends heavily to the under. This 46.5s that are out there, I don't think will be out there later in the week. So just based on my numbers, if whatever, I can't tell you exactly what to do, but I would be surprised if we're here on Saturday morning and the total's still 46.5. I think it's a little bit high for how these teams play and how they match up together, and the fact that the Chicago defense was the one that was injured all year long. They're trending up in terms of health. They look better defensively. Jordan Love coming off of a concussion. Typically, when a quarterback comes off of a concussion, they experience a little dip in their efficiency. So I think all of this points to a little bit of an under. Now, in terms of the side, obviously it's a 1.5 point spread. Either way, you could do the thing where you just pick the dog and tease them. But I kind of like Green Bay. I think this is sneaky for the Packers, who basically limped into the playoffs. Banged up, quarterbacks hurt, meaningless game, lose a couple of games to end the season. You just finish, what did they finish? 9-7, 9-7-1, nothing. I think this is sneaky for them to come in and get a win. They've been very, very good under LaFleur late season and in the playoffs on the road. Okay, I have to pull the record, but it's really good. Late, like December and after, and into the playoffs. Remember, they won a playoff. They went into Dallas, I think it was a couple of years ago, and won that playoff game as a big dog. They've won playoff games on the road with Jordan Love. And I don't want to say the Bears are going to, I'm not saying anything negative about the Bears because I really like how they played this year. I really like the way they're going. But week 18, yesterday, you're at home and you're favorites against the Lions. And by the way, they took a bunch of money. They were -2.5. They closed 4.5. They took a bunch of money against the Lions. And with your fate in your own hand to lock up the 2 seed. Now, they got the 2 seed anyway, but my point is that you controlled your own destiny and you could have locked up the 2 seed, and they just completely laid a dud. I mean, they're scoreless in the first half. They lose the game. I mean, I know they come all the way back, and yes, they have that fourth quarter magic potential to them, but the Lions had nothing to play for. And yes, that line was inflated a bit at 4.5, but they didn't even win the game. And that concerns me a little bit. So now you're going into that similar atmosphere. That atmosphere that you experienced on Sunday this is going to be that times 2. Playoff game at home, pressure on you. You're a small favorite. and a divisional opponent's coming in. I mean, it's basically a rerun of the same. Like, it's going to be very similar. And I'm just not super sold that the Bears are going to come out and take care of business here. So what if they fold again the way they just did yesterday? Like, when the pressure's on you, it's a lot different than when you're the up and comer, the underdog. When you're the dog, when you are where expectations are high, it's a little bit different. So now everyone thinks Bears are the better team. Bears at home, they're favored. Like, now it's time. It's Caleb Williams' first playoff start. I kind of think there's a lot of pressure in this spot on Chicago, and Green Bay kind of comes in the losing team, the buy low, basically the buy low team, and could maybe surprise them a bit. I think you have the coaching and the quarterback edge on Green Bay side and the defensive edge. You call that the trifecta around here. So while I haven't played it yet, if this line gets widely available, you flip it and widely available Green Bay plus 1.5, maybe I'll look to tease them up. I think a Green Bay Jacksonville teaser is great, a very good plus EV play. So my leans in this game strongly to the under, and then not as strongly, but definitely leaning Packers on the side in this one. All right, over to Sunday. We have 3 Sunday games. This one, to me, is the best one. This is the game of Wild Card Weekend, and I'll explain why. But you got the Buffalo Bills headed to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. Bills minus 1.5 on the road. We started to see some books tick down to 1 as the Jags took a little bit of money, but still 1.5 most spots. 51.5 is the total, high total for a playoff game, but these are 2 explosive offenses. Now, I think, I'll say this. We've talked about all year long how the AFC is pretty wide open. The NFC, you kind of know who the best teams are, and they're stacked. They're kind of very top heavy. AFC is wide open. I think the winner of this game wins the AFC. That's where I'm at with this game. I don't trust Denver at all coming out of the bye week. I actually do not think the bye is going to be good for them. The Bills and I think the winner of this game wins the AFC. Bills at Jaguars. That's how important. And it's priced. I think it's priced perfectly. I have it a pick. It's priced perfectly. I can't tell you there's an edge on either side of this game. The smallest of leans maybe to the under, but both of these teams can light the other one up. It's just crazy because if on paper, if you just told me that I'm getting Josh Allen versus Trevor Lawrence, like, it's kind of a no-brainer, but Lawrence has been playing so well. He's playing at an elite level. My only question is, like, has he taken the next step? Because you can look back on quarterbacks' careers that, like, guys that are great now, look back and be like, that's where he took the step. Did he take the step, or is there going to be some regression? He's done it even against great defenses. They went into Denver and smacked them around. So to me, you've got a Buffalo Bills D here that is dead last against the rush this season. And anytime they face a team that can run the ball, it's been problematic for them. The question is, can they keep up? They are one of the best running teams in the NFL. They want to run the ball with James Cook and Josh Allen to a certain extent. They don't have a bunch of skill position players that can light you up on the outside. So they're going to want to run the ball. Jags are pretty good. Jags are a top 10 defense against the run. And like I said, as much as if you guys don't know, when I power rate teams and when I cap games and set lines originate, I'm very quarterback driven. Very. So if a team has the better quarterback, and the number is reasonable, most of the time that's where I'm going to lean. But I'm not so sure I can get there on Buffalo in this game. I think Jacksonville has got too many edges elsewhere. And I even think at this point, you might be able to say, the Jags have the better coach. McDermott's been there a long time, and they've won playoff games, and they've had runs. They've had great teams. This ain't one of them, by the way. This is not one of the best teams that Josh Allen's had around him. But Liam Cohen, man, he's doing an unbelievably good job. They're on a long winning streak. By the way, they've been dominant at home. It's really hard to go into Jacksonville and get their only loss at home this year was to the Seahawks. And that was like early in the year. We played the Seahawks in that game. That was early in the year before we knew how good Seattle was. Look how good they are now. They one seed in the NFC is their only loss at home, the Jaguars. So this is a really tough draw for the Bills, which is why I think whoever wins this game is going to win the AFC. Allen's clearly the best quarterback left, but I'm just not sure it's enough. I really am just not. I mean, one way that I could see playing this game is taking the Jaguars in the first half, because when we had our last NFL Max play, The three we hit them. We're 4-0 this season on our max bets. One of the bright spots of our season. Well, actually, sorry, 3-0. One of them was a college max, so we're 3-0. The last one was Buffalo against the Patriots, who were down 21-0 to start that game, and I had a max ticket on the line. I was sweating. They had a ridiculous second half, and they came all the way back. The Bills are the best second half team in the NFL, both what you see with your eyes and ATS wise. They're the best second half team, but when they're in games with a spread below a field goal, they're 1-7 against the spread in the first half. So they just don't come out flying. Okay. And if the Jags can stop the run early, I could see that happening again. I could see the Jaguars building a lead against this terrible rushing defense. And I could see the Bills having to come back and doing it. I could see them pulling off the comeback in the second half, as maybe the pressure is too much for a younger Jacksonville team at home with a young coach. So I just think this is a true coin flip game. That's what I'll say. The Green Bay one, even though the Green Bay Chicago game, even though the line is similar, I think you have a small edge with the Packers. I think this is a true coin flip, both sides. I don't know who's going to win the game. I lean ever so slightly to the better quarterback. Am I going to play it? No. I would be more likely to tease up the Jaguars if I plus 1.5 up to 7.5. But then again, you got a total of 51.5. I really tried not to tease games that have a total in the 50s. I try to keep it in the 47 or lower. The points are really worth more. But man, the matchup here has got to be the Jaguars' ability to run the football, those run concepts that Cohen draws up with ETN. And by the way, Lawrence has had the best rushing season of his career, and he's got 9 rushing touchdowns. So I think that's the matchup you got to watch out, because the Bills' secondary is great. They've been excellent against the pass this year. Now, have they faced a ton of explosive passing offenses? Not necessarily. They did face Drake May twice. They kind of held him at bay. I mean, that second game, I know it was 35-31 Bills final score, but the Patriots didn't light them up through the air. It was Henderson again doing his thing on the ground. He broke off a bunch of huge runs. So that's where you get the Bills. If the Jags run the ball, they're going to have a huge advantage. The Bills want to run the ball. The Jags are much better defending it. I just think, man, with how good the Jaguars have been at home, I know you're kind of buying high-ish on them here, but I just think it's a tough game. I could see this game just being like 27-27 with a minute to go, and it's whoever has the ball last. I mean, a lot of these games are going to come down to a couple of plays at the end. I just don't see a huge edge on this one, aside from quarterback for Buffalo and aside from the run game for Jacksonville. So if you put the gun to my head, I hate standing on the fence, but if you put a gun to my head, you give me the Bills. But I'm much more likely to just tease Jacksonville up in this game and try to combine it with something else. All right. Your second game on Sunday is the 49ers taking on the Eagles. Philadelphia, -3.5. 4 and 4.5s are starting to pop up as I talk here. Totally agree with that, and I'll explain why. 46.5 is the total. Definitely lean under in this game. I'm just not sure where you're getting a ton of offense from San Francisco in this spot. This was up live last night, right? As I'm watching the end of the Steelers-Ravens, and this was Eagles -3, and I texted a friend. It was -115. I texted a friend saying that line's short. Now, it wasn't widely available, so I didn't want to send it out for the pick service, but I had this game 4.5, and now as of this morning, we're seeing the first 4s and 4.5 start to pop up. So this makes total sense to me. I don't see, where are you getting the offense from here? So you've got a hurt Trent Williams for the 49ers. You've got a hurt Ricky Pearsall. And by the way, Trent Williams is a hamstring, so it's not something little. Okay, it could be significant. And you're already not, this offense looked great for a while until it ran into a defense that has a pulse, and it was just lights out after that. Purdy's been playing really well, aside from the Seattle game. I know they had the fluky turnover in the red zone. They probably would have been right there, but I'm just not seeing, man, the Eagles, just think about this, right? The Eagles took week 18 off, all right? So throw that out the window. Prior to that, just think about this. The Bills, who average, I think, about 34 points per game at home. The Eagles went in there and held them to 12 points. Just saying. I mean, I just don't see, where's the offense coming from? You want to run the ball with Christian McCaffrey? You're going to run the ball through Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis in the middle and Jalen Phillips on the edge, and this is a brutal draw for the 49ers. As bad as, I mean, their season, let's be real, the 49ers season was on Saturday night. They needed the 1 seed so badly. And the defense had an all-out max effort. That was their season. I don't see any way no way they win this game. I cannot see it. You want to tell me they covered 3.5 and it's close late? I still don't see it. I think the Eagles are gonna win this easily, comfortably. I lean very strongly to Eagles -3.5 if you can still get it. The 4s are out there. I'm not sure what the ceiling is on this. I don't think you'll see 5s. Yeah, maybe at 5 you see a little buy. I mean, 5 is not really a key number, so this could get to 6. I don't know. I really don't know, but I've got this Eagles -4.5. I could argue for 5. I just think the Niners, they've done a great job piecing it together all season long, but this is where it comes apart. And the Eagles offense is not great, but they have faced a very tough schedule of opposing defenses. I mean, think about, just off the top, I don't remember, just off the top of my head, I remember they faced a healthy Kansas City, early in the season in Kansas City. They faced a healthy LA Chargers defense, which is really good. They faced some pretty tough defenses. I'd have to go back and check, but they played the Rams. I remember that. They played the Broncos. So this is an offense that now coming up against the Niners, I mean, did you watch that? Listen, that Seahawks game, they put up 13 points. They could have had 30 in that game. They could have had 30 points. All right. That was more of like a typical Darnold shooting himself. Like if that game ended with a Niners win, they would be blaming Darnold all night long, left and right. I just don't see the Niners doing much offensively in this one. And I mean, man, the Eagles secondary, their ability to defend pass catchers is so good. And the Niners don't really have, other than Kittle, that's it. And what are you going to dump off to McCaffrey 20 times? I just don't see it. I really don't see it. I think the Eagles are going to roll in this one. And even with their bad offense, I say bad, but I think they should be able to run the ball with Saquon, healthy offensive line coming into this game. I think Hurts will have his opportunities. You don't need anything crazy. But I just think, I could see this being like one of those games where the Eagles don't need much to cover, is my point. 21-10 is kind of what I see here. 24-14. I could see that. I don't think you're going to need much to cover this line, and I like the Eagles to do that, to cover this line. So I lean under. The under's already it was 46.5. You're already seeing 45s now. It's ticking down. But lean under, lean Eagles for sure in this game. Probably my strongest lean of the week is Eagles. All right, next game is your Sunday Night Football game, Chargers at Patriots. This is a really good one too. You got the Pats -3.5 at home with a total of 46.5. I think the matchup to watch out for in this one is pretty obvious, and I think that's the Patriots passing offense against the Chargers secondary. You can argue, guys. I mean, and you have I'll say this first. You have a huge, out of all the games, this is the biggest strength of schedule disparity. So the Chargers faced a pretty tough schedule overall. Being in the same division as the Broncos and the Chiefs is always tough, but they also played a lot of very tough teams outside of their division. So they had a rough schedule. The Patriots had not just an easy schedule, but they've had one of the easiest schedules over the last 30 years in an NFL season in terms of like the final records of your opponents and all that stuff. Quarterback, how many backups did you face? So it's been a breeze for New England. Now they've dominated during that breeze, so give them credit, but it's been a breeze. You could argue this is their toughest test, aside from, in terms of passing the football, aside from the games against the Bills. We talked about that game earlier with the second game in New England with the Bills, where they did a good job containing the passing offense. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but they did a good job. The Chargers have an elite coverage unit, and you know what they want to do. They want to sit back, and they want to make sure that you cannot throw the deep ball against them. They want to prevent explosive passing plays, and they want to sit there in zone and force you to be very patient and be pinpoint accurate and pick apart. That's what you have to do against this team. Can Drake May do that? Can he? Yeah. Will he? I think it's a good matchup for the Chargers defense, is what I'm saying. They want to force you to run. They're like a run funnel defense. They're okay defending. They're not terrible defending the run. They're good at it. But that's what they want you to do. So it's one of those things, and we've seen the Patriots be able to lean on that where you see Trayvon Henderson then break a big run and it gets them going. That's what you're going to see in this game. So to me, it's going to be like who's going to be more patient, who can put together methodical drives that end in touchdowns. That's going to be who wins this game. Now, on the other side, I don't love the situation for the Chargers offensive line. It's banged up still. I don't think I think Herbert's good, not great. I'm not one of these Herbert hype guys. Um, but I'm just not sure the Patriots have or I'm not sure the Patriots are the best matchup to exploit their offensive line. Like they're not a great pass rush. This is not it's not just me saying that. The numbers support that. I think they're 18th and they're just a middle of the road pass rush. So is this a matchup where the Chargers offensive line comes back to bite them? I don't really think so. They don't blitz much. They're not a great sacks that the Patriots get are mostly coverage sacks because they're pretty good back there. Obviously, you got Christian Gonzalez. So if they can lock your guys up back there, then yes, you're not going to have as much time and yada yada. It's you know how the like it's a snowball effect. So if that happens, I get that. But I think the Chargers have enough. I mean, the Chargers can run the ball a little bit. You've got both running backs now back. Hampton's back. You've got decent guys out there. Like, you need your guys to step up, like McConkey and Allen and all this. But you've got the pieces, Quentin Johnston. Like, you can do enough. I think the Chargers can do enough in this game. All right. And I think your first playoff game at home as the 2 seed with a lot of pressure, Sunday Night Football prime time. I'm not saying that's going to all get to Drake May, but I do think you've got more experience on the one side than the other. So I kind of lean Chargers in this one, getting the 3.5. I think if this was 2.5, my tune would be a little bit different. But at 3.5, I think it's a little rich. I think I line this game at 3. So you're not going to find huge edges, like I said, at this point in the season. But the fact that I make this 3 and I'm getting the extra hook with a pretty good quarterback and a pretty good defense and a pretty good head coach, Harbaugh. The one thing I'll say about the Chargers is they don't blow me away in any, I'd say their coverage is probably their best trait. They don't blow me away in any way as a team. But the one thing that I'll say is they're tough. They are tough as nails. I mean, on defense, this is like your typical Harbaugh style team where it's like, we're going to line up for 60 minutes and we're going to see how much you got in you. And that is their mentality on defense. Like that's what I described earlier. Like they don't want the quick drives. They don't want the explosives. They want to line up, get tough physical, sit in the back, and then the guys in the back prevent anything deep and just say, how patient are you willing to be? How many hits are you willing to take until you make a mistake, right? So like that's their I like that style of play for the playoffs. Last year, similar team, I would say not as good offensively, but similar team went into Houston. Remember that game? Chargers into Houston as a favorite and got their doors blown off. Now the problem in that game was they faced a team that is the same way. That Houston defense at home, what I just described, same thing. So it kind of came back to bite them. And then obviously that defense is incredible, the Houston defense. So, but this matchup, now getting points, not laying. They were laying 3 in that game last year, by the way. I remember that. Now this game, getting 3.5 against a team that's not like that. Patriots are not that kind of defense. I think the Chargers can put up points in this game. And I think they could win the game outright. So I like the Chargers getting 3.5 in this one. Your final game is on Monday. I hate these standalone. I just want the back-to-back triple headers, please, for wildcard weekend, but whatever. Monday Night Football, you gave us the worst game, basically, other than Rams, Panthers, Texans at Steelers, Houston minus 3.5. On the road with a total of 39.5. This is probably the game I have the least strong opinion on. It's just, I don't know. I make this 3. So at 3.5, small lean to Pitt. If you can get 3, a small lean to Houston. I mean, there's just really not much from here. I could see the under being a thing. My one thing in this game is, where is Pittsburgh at mentally after what happened on Sunday night? I mean, that was a wild way to win, to end your season. Like from 1 second you could be out, the next second you're in. Kid misses the field goal for Baltimore. Is there a letdown? A little bit. We saw. Just think about the last few weeks for Pittsburgh. They upset Detroit in Detroit, then went to Cleveland, laid a dud, lost the game, then came back home, upset the Ravens. So whenever they get these like Mike Tomlin, gritty dog wins, they usually follow up with a shitter, right? And this is a pretty good matchup for that to happen with the Texans defense. So My only concern here, if I'm running to back Houston, is like Stroud. I'm not going to say outdoors because he hasn't even been bad outdoors, but like just specifically in Pittsburgh, it's a tough place to play. They got that shitty field, very tough road atmosphere. Your offense is still not great. And I know the Texans have looked better offensively and they kind of shored up their offensive line a little bit from what we saw earlier in the season, but I'm going to just say this. Listen, I lean Houston in the game. Let's get that out the way. I'm going to say this. The Texans defensive front is excellent. They're an excellent defense. On the other side, though, but you do have a vet. Like Rodgers is a vet. They kind of know how to handle pressure. They'll get quick dump offs, things like that. He's not mobile, but he knows he's gonna have to get the ball out quickly against his defense. So you've got that aspect on one side. But on the other side, like the one guy that you have to watch in this game is TJ Watt against this offensive line. Because Watt is a true game breaker. Like there's not many guys I'm not even sure yet that you can say that about Will Anderson. Myles Garrett, yes. TJ Watt is a true, like he is the guy. I mean, you almost saw it again last night when he had an interception, the weird ass interception in the backfield. Like he's a true game breaker. So he's a guy that if he gets back there enough is the type of guy where you end up with like a strip sack fumble for a touchdown, an errant pass you have to make under pressure, thrown for a pick six. Like he is a true game breaker. He's one of probably 3 or 4 defensive players in the league that can change a game enough so that you win versus losing. So to me, just being at home and having Watt there as a true game breaker, to me is I would watch out for that. I think Houston's going to have to put a lot of attention there that can maybe open things up elsewhere. So if anything, slightly to the under, slightly to the Texans to win, but am I trusting this Houston offense to win by margin on the road? No way. And this is one of those games where just like I wouldn't be surprised if either side won for the Bills, Jags, for the Packers, Bears. I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers beat the Patriots. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers upset in this game. Honestly, I'll tell you this, the only 2 upsets that would genuinely shock me this weekend are the Panthers because they're a 10-point dog, but also the 49ers as a 4-point dog. Genuinely, I'd be stunned if the 49ers won and if the Panthers won. Everything else I could see happening. So that's where I'm at with Wildcard Weekend. Now I want to give you guys some trends that we just went through the games. All right. The first one up is teams looking for revenge. And by the way, I did post some of these over on YouTube Shorts. So if you want to just take the short way and go watch that. But teams looking for revenge. So basically, if 2 teams match up in the playoffs and they played earlier in the season and this team lost, they're looking for revenge. The last 25 times has come up. That team looking for revenge is 16-9. So that's 64% against the spread. That's active on the Rams because they lost to the Panthers, and it's active on the Packers because they lost to the Bears. So there's 2 teams looking for revenge in wildcard round. Now, the other one I want to tell you about is quarterbacks that quarterbacks that have playoff experience taking on a quarterback that doesn't have playoff experience. So you got to have a quarterback that's been in the playoffs and basically against a guy who's making his first playoff start. The one with experience is 39-20 against the spread last 20 years. That's 66%. So that's active on the Rams and the Packers, but also the Chargers. So because you've got Bryce Young, Caleb Williams, Drake May. Those are the 3 guys making their first playoff start. So that's very important as well. We can also look at the other one. What about dome teams? Teams that play in a dome, but now they're playing outdoors. Okay. Last 20 years, 21-30 ATS. Not crazy, but 41% against the spread. So that would be fading Texans who play in a dome outdoors, Chargers who play in a dome, and the Rams. So those are the 3 dome teams that are playing outdoors. So watch out for that. What was the other one I had? What about teams that are games in which teams that made the postseason in the previous year against a team that didn't? But this is only for the wild card round. Okay. So the idea behind this one is that you've got a team that they were here last year, been there, done that. And you have a team that maybe has been struggling. They didn't make the playoffs last year. Now they're finally in. And is there a letdown? That's what this is trying to play on. 33, 16-1. That's 67% against the spread. You got 5. Rams, Packers, Eagles, Chargers, Bills. Those 5 teams all made the playoffs last year. They're playing a team that didn't. That's a 67% ATS spot. for wild card weekend. All right, guys, let me know what you think down in the comments. I gave you my leans. So my leans here, just right off the bat, I think the Rams win. Not sure about cover. I think the Packers win. I think the Bills Jags is a true coin flip game to me that I'm going to really enjoy watching, but probably have no action on. I would lean Buffalo slightly. I think the Eagles win and cover. I think the Chargers will keep the game close and potentially beat the Patriots. And I think the Texans win over the Steelers. Those are my picks. Those are my thoughts, leans. I gave you some trends. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. You've helped us grow the YouTube channel a little bit this year. Let me know what you like, what's your favorite sides, totals, whatever it is for Wildcard Weekend. And make sure you subscribe because we will be back for Divisional Weekend and Championship Weekend and Super Bowl. Still a lot left to go over. Thank you guys for watching.